the many men, one on top, another waiting, another erected. A woman who survived gang rape recants in 2018. My parents want to marry me off by force, and I opened a police case. I have been disowned by all my relatives, and I am now staying at the police station. A 16-year-old in a will stated in 2020. And in 10 years of South Sudan's existence, many women and girls said absolutely nothing because they did not survive the violence. As Gender Talk 211 executed its project this year, we've heard gender-based violence stories all year around. It is not a 1 day, 10 days, or 16 days experience. It is an everyday reality. As we join voices to end gender-based violence, let's start by unnormalizing it and all its different forms. In saying stop, let's say no to child marriage, which in all honesty is child rape. We do not glamorize abuse. In saying no more, let's hold perpetrators accountable and prosecute them.
Beyond speaking on GBV in South Sudan, today we decided you need to see a representation of it.
All around, you can see visuals of different forms of gender-based violence. More than it triggering the human emotion in you to stand against it, it is my hope that it triggers the protector in you and you act against it.
How? Through reporting, creating more conversations to raise awareness, and holding perpetrators accountable no matter who they are. Today, joining us here are women of different backgrounds, ages, but they carry the same fear. Whether a survivor or a victim, a woman or a girl is either changed forever by living the nightmare or dying in it. That is no way for anyone to live. Mamara Sakit and its project, Gender Talk 211, since their inception, have committed to supporting, amplifying, researching, learning, working with and for women and girls. Our feminism isn't a 16 days activism. It is a lifelong commitment to never stop until we together achieve equal rights, gender equality. Until no means no, until consent is required, until consent is understood, until we're no longer silenced, until we are Mamara Sakit. And conversations that will take place today may be triggering for some of us, if not all of us. But it is through conversation and reveal of the pain and struggle that healing begins. It is my hope that those conversations will help survivors begin their journey of healing. And in addition, contribute to the work globally being done in ending gender-based violence. Finally, today and for the next 16 days, we stand against gender-based violence. Equally, every other day, we will continue to stand with and for you against gender-based violence. Thank you very much.
I'm no woman. If woman is less man. I don't want to be equated, for equality is not what I seek. And algebra seconds me for XX and XY will never be equivalent. I seek equity.
As a part of the Orange South Sudan event or series of activities that will be happening by Gender Talk 211, we have 8 amazing women who have written 8 powerful articles and poems, which will be launched, will be released, revealed with our website at the end of this conversation. You'll simply be able to log in to the gendertalk211.org website and read everything that's been told. Those are real experiences. They're very personal to us. We want it to be real and raw. We want to process our own feelings without someone telling us how to feel about anything, yes? So I'd like to call on the few writers who are here with us today who will be joining us to have this conversation, not panel discussion. Ajak Ibrahim, you're most welcome. Anek Majakamun, you're most welcome. And finally, and I'm very happy to have this young lady with us here today, because it seems when we have conversations about women, about girls, even about South Sudanese in general, we forget persons with disability, and we forget that they are also largely affected by everything that is happening in South Sudan and in the world. So Diana, I'd like to welcome you to the stage. You're most welcome.
It's like I need two strong men to support me up there.
Two strong men. Show us yourselves. You got 4. We're good.
Thank you.
Ladies, I know you'll be sharing a lot of yourselves today, which is not easy for us to do. So I would like for this not to be a panel discussion. Like I said, I want it to be a conversation. I want us to share and I want us to relate to each other, and in then empowering each other. Yes? So let's have conversations. If you have questions for me, I'm here to answer as well. And you too, the audience, I would like you to be a part of the conversation as well. Yes, are we together? Can I hear a yes?
Yes.
Okay, we are together. Would you mind introducing yourselves one by one so that we know who you are?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anek Majakamun. I'm a high school graduate. I'm 20 years old.
Good afternoon once again. My name is Tatediko. I'm a spoken word poet.
Hello everyone, my name is Ajak Ibrahim. I'm a radical African feminist and I'm a researcher for Gender Talk 211.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Diana Joseph, a survivor of gender-based violence.
You're most welcome, all of you. I'd like to start with the youngest in the group, Anek. Like I said, we want to have real and raw conversations. Anek wrote the piece on child marriage, which you'll be seeing at the end of this conversation once we launch our website. Anek, tell us about your piece, what you wrote.
Well, to be honest, as a girl child, being born as a female is one of the greatest things. And our country doesn't see the courage or the greatness of a woman or of a girl child. So they tend to lower women's value in this country. But I, as a young woman, I am ready to stand up and fight for the rights of every other woman that is born in this country and all over the world. So as I wrote that piece, I was experiencing the things that other ladies went through. So I feel that same pain that other girls have gone through. So that's why I wrote that piece. It was a wound that was deep in my heart, and I'm willing to change that.
Thank you, Anek. And Tata, tell us about your poem that you wrote so powerfully and recited so beautifully right now. Tell us a bit about it.
I bet to exist as a woman, when a woman is defined by so many things that is down there, I chose I don't want to be that. And looking back in my life, as soon as I identified myself vocally as a feminist, I've always been told what you are is not ladylike, what you are is not womanlike, what you are does not fit to be called a woman. And I was like, I don't want to be that one, you know? And writing that poem, I actually wrote it with a lot of anger at that point, because I wanted, it was as if I'm telling them, I don't have to be what you're saying to exist. I'm female and you don't have to tell me how to exist. And that is more with more of my pieces, is just to tell people, be who you are. Don't let other people tell you who you should be. Be your authentic self, and while at it, let other people also be what they want to be. But as much as we're being ourselves, let's be mindful of the people around us. Let's be empathetic. Let's be caring about the people around us. And this poem is just to tell, you can be that person, exist as that person. You don't have to fit in any box.
Thank you so much, Tata. I want to ask you more because we know you love to write. You love to write poetry, and you've expressed yourself as a woman many times. You've written many relatable pieces of poetry. I want to ask you personally, what is the most common gender-based violence form that you have witnessed or seen happening around you, or you find it coming to your mind to write about?
That you're not good enough. Mine mostly would go with the verbal abuse, which happens all the time. And even today, as a woman, if you go back and you just try to reflect how you spent your day, you'll find there's this word that someone said that you just took it so casual. And that is to say, in our daily way of life, we are violated, but we don't know that we have been violated in most cases. It's until you reach a point of awakening that you realize, oh, that was wrong, but you never knew before.
Thank you so much. If you can see on the pictorials that are on the boards, we have one that stands out, and that is digitization of feminism. And Ajak Ibrahim was very adamant, and she said, we need to have this article, this story. I need to put it out there. Tell us about digitization of feminism and why it's so important to you.
As a writer and a researcher for Gender Talk 211, it's a platform that is mainly digital. It grew out of digitization, and I feel that the whole core of it is embedded in the digitization of feminism and the advancement of technology and how it can go hand in hand with political, social, economic activism. So that's something I'm very passionate about. It's one of my fields of study, researching how different cultures, diasporas, can come hand in hand and work together to push for feminism, as well as I believe that digitization or the digital era can transcend time and space. So it acts as an archive, so we can always go back to it. And that is something we lack here in South Sudan, an archive for us feminists to look back on our work and our different organizations. So I felt that that was a need that we had to push for.
Yes, how do we start? Where do we start from?
Well, it depends with who is starting. If it's somebody who doesn't know about feminism, they can just start about finding out how they can partake in feminism on the online space. For us feminists who are already aware of what digitization of feminism is, for us to push for better access to technologies, affordable technologies, push for our legislators to make sure that bundles are affordable and everybody can partake in it, because there's no point in having a form of feminism that is not accessible to all. If it's not accessible to all, then it's not feminism. So for us who are already in this sphere, for us to push further for its accessibility to all, and for us to incorporate everyone. That digitization has that advantage where a lot of people can partake in it. Those who are living with disabilities, like who cannot hear or who cannot speak, people who cannot go out and protest physically, people who are shy, who are mentally mentally ill or mentally have issues, they can also partake in it because they may have anxiety coming out in public and doing such things. It also helps to protect survivors of violence who want to even speak out, they don't have to come out and say my name is so and so. They can go behind accounts and push for it. So we need to push for that accessibility, and just seeing that it's something that is something so small, but it's so big that we can all partake in.
Thank you so much, Ajak. I know you wrote another piece, 2 more pieces as a part of the aid. I will come back to that. Diana, first of all, again, I'm very happy that you're here and that you're able to be a part of us. You didn't write any of the pieces, but we do have one piece on gender-based violence and its effects on persons with a disability. But you so gracefully agreed to be here with us and speak on it and share your own story, and I think you're so powerful for that. I thank you for being here again. We met first when we did the South Sudan Women at 10. And gender-based violence was one of the most important points that you made regarding persons with disability. Share a bit with everyone.
First of all, I am really grateful to be part of this panel discussion. Persons with disability are in most cases left behind, but I appreciate your effort to bring us in the discussion so that you can hear from us. As I said earlier, I am a survivor of gender-based violence, of which I have been experiencing from my childhood. And up to now, I am still fighting on it. Gender-based violence, like as people normally say, like women are the most vulnerable. But today, I also want to assure you that a woman with disability is more vulnerable than a woman. Is the most vulnerable person on earth when it comes to gender-based violence. At all aspects, yeah, there is challenge. Like as I said earlier, from my childhood, I've been abused. I every day experience violence from friends, from community. People see like this one, why to send her to school? She don't deserve. These are violence that we go through on a daily basis. But I thank God that my mom pushed for it, though she never knew that there is something called gender-based violence, but deep inside her, she knows that I can be that person who can be like any other person. And the other biggest challenge that as women we really face, in culture, South Sudan take woman as a slave, not as a human. So when it comes to the aspect of a woman and you are living with disability, they first see like, what are you going to do in that house? What benefit can you give? Are you able to fetch water every day from the river or from the borehole? Even like the woman who is having physical disability, like I experienced that personal. My mother-in-law was asking like, how is she going to push the child? Oh my God, I'm like, how do people push children when they are giving birth? That you need to hold your leg and your leg is paralyzed. How are you going to push the... Just imagine that kind of abuse. We live on them every day. You are that one who cannot hear that. How can she talk to family members when family comes in? So we every day face this, and it is really painful. That's why I'm like, I will sing for it every day. And this is a work that, like people like you who are here, you young men, go and marry women with disability, please. I am just telling you because they are good. They have every capabilities that women have. Like me, I am one of the most powerful women on earth. Me, Diana, personally. Because when it comes to, yeah, I might not come up here. But if there are no people to support me, I will still come up here. I wish you refused. You would have seen me how I would crawl up here and sit on the seat. So women with disability face it every day, but I believe together we can make it for women with disability in South Sudan to have that right and to overcome. When I see that picture where the lady is naked, it was only yesterday when I viewed properly what he's saying to me, and I read something called revenge porn. And because I don't want anything to miss me, I had to go to my dictionary. So when I looked into it, I understood what it means. Then just after a while, my ex sent me a pic. Oh my God. I looked at the picture and that is me, but we broke up. So I asked him like, what are you trying to tell me? Because that was me when we were in a relationship. But now we are done. What are you telling me? So he's quiet, up to now he's quiet, but I know what I can do for him. Because that is gender-based violence. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. Often we find that persons with disability are excluded. We don't have enough conversations. We don't have them enough in rooms, in decision making, and so on. Creating awareness is not enough. Obviously, people are trying, but it's not enough. What else can we do?
In fact, persons with disability are left behind almost in every side corner. Because as you can see, there are many gender-based violence actions that are happening. Like what my sister was saying, she talked about the digitalization, and I really like if they can put that in implementation, like creating that accessibility so that everyone can have access, like to informations and everything. What we need to do, in fact, is like we need to find, like, we need to see how can we be connected to persons with disability. Because like getting people with disability is very hard. Why? Because even their families alone don't want them to be known out. Families take persons with disability as outcasts. So it is our turn as people here who knows what it means to voice out for persons with disability, to speak on their behalf, and to tell them that they are more or less like everyone. Because like for example, now if my family, they don't care about me, they don't bother to hear who I am, it is now very difficult for me to come out. Of which, if I will first say that no, my mom, she's like, no, I don't deserve to go out. If that is my mom who is saying I shouldn't go out, so how much more that one who doesn't know me? We need to create more awareness about persons with disability in all levels. And we need to involve them in everything we are doing. Let us have that inclusive environment where everybody has got access, whether to health services, to whatever case it could be. For instance, like you guys talked of sexual reproductive health right. Like service providers needs to be trained, in fact, because me as a woman with disability, I have right to family plan. I have right to decide when to have sex, when to have child, when not to have. But service providers intend to ignore that. You go as a woman with disability, you say you need family planning, they'll tell you that, oh my God, what is this? They'll tell you that you go and give birth to your leg, go and give birth to your eye, your ear. Yes, I know, but are you the one to tell me? So we find it hard when we want to access such services. So service providers need to be trained on search. They should know that persons with disability also has the right to search. When it comes to things to do with police, I remember it was some months ago, I just felt the burden of how women with disability are really suffering. I decided to go personally to the police station. And there I met two guys who knows me very well. I told them that, my friends, please, I am coming here for a walk, and I want you to do me a favor. And they're like, what do you want? I'm like, I'm going to pretend that I'm deaf and I don't want you to talk to me. So they were like, serious? I'm like, yes. They're like, okay, you can go. I went to the police. I'm like, I wrote to them. I'm like, my sister is raped. So everybody was looking at me. I first wrote to them that I can read, I can write, but I cannot talk. So they're like, they are speaking Uder Shunini, Mingibelo Bue Gifini. So I was hearing very well, and I'm just in silence. So I'm like, I wrote to them. So I'm just trying to tell you, like, we face challenges. When we come to cases, want to report, you cannot report. Why? Because nobody understands the language even you talk. You start doing your hand and they will say, what is this one doing? So these are some of the things that we need to work on to make sure that persons with disability are included, to make sure that their voices are heard, to make sure that their needs, their wants are given unto them. When we come to aspects like in the government, we are left behind. There is no representation of women with disability, of which who can hear to our voices, who will know what we are suffering from. So we need to put our hands together, advocate for persons with disability, raise up awareness in the community, and it start by yourself. I just would love that if you guys would go and log in, just put sign language, you start learning it. Because I find that these are the most people who cannot express themselves out. And despite they faced a lot. Sometimes, yes, someone with this physical disability like me, I can cry, I can shout, and people will come to rescue me. But that one who has no voice, who cannot hear. So let us learn how to bring persons with disability together with us so that we can go on this fight together.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Also, one of the pieces that are written is called See Our Mothers. I'm sure you've seen the image there. See Our Mothers, Widows. And I'd like to have a conversation about that a little bit, if you don't mind. Ladies, let me explain what See Our Mothers is. So we wanted to write a piece for widows, because a lot of the times we forget women who are widows at this point. My mother is a widow. This piece that I co-wrote is very personal to me. My mother is a widow, and after my father passed, she became a target. She became a family target because the feeling of there is no man that can protect her is now there. And then I start realizing that not just society, but even myself, I'd never seen my mother beyond being wife to my father, and also my mother. I haven't seen her beyond that. But who are you? Who were you before you became a wife? Before you became a mother? Who were you? What were your dreams? Who are you? Who were you before you became a wife? Before you became a mother? Who were you? What were your dreams? Right? And I would have those thoughts, and I wanted to have those conversations because I wanted to help her find purpose again. In losing her husband, I felt that she felt she had lost a lot of value because what was her power is no longer there. And I so badly wanted her to see beyond that, because my mother to me is the closest thing to God. She's the most powerful woman that I know, one of the most powerful people that I know. My entire family, our entire home rests on her back. And I wanted her so badly to see herself as that. But then you realize that the society we live in, the culture that we live in, has taught us that a woman's value is in her husband and in her children. She's not given beyond that. She's not seen beyond that. And then as a result of that, I also started seeing her as that. I was seeing her as mother, as wife, nothing outside of that bracket. So then we start having conversations, right? She starts telling me about her life before myself, before my siblings, before my father. Even when you were a young girl, who did you want to become? Where did you want to go? I needed her to find purpose, because now she's lost her person. Who supports, who encourages, who tells her it's okay? Who does she confide in? And in the middle of family, looking at her as a target because she's looked at as weak at this point. In my mind, I'm going to be your power now. But I need to do that through you. I need you to also wake up and reflect on who you are. I couldn't have this conversation with her directly. So I would intentionally create conversations and push her. No, why don't you type? You try it. She wants to make a decision for the family. You don't need to call everyone. You are the head of the family. Make your decision. You don't need anyone else. These conversations started sparking, putting a spark, triggering who she really wanted to become. And as we speak, 2 days ago, she comes back from school and she scored a 3.1 GPA.
Wow.
And yes, she's a student now. She's pursuing a diploma. And finally, I can see her. I can see her beyond being my mother, beyond being a wife. She is a person that has dreams, that has so much value, that is so very intelligent. And I'd always known this, but everything around me would not allow me see her beyond this. And as a result, she also did not see herself beyond that. But now she does, and I finally see her. And that's how the article of See Our Mothers came from. And I just wanted to ask if you can relate to what I'm saying, or this experience that I went through. Anyone that would like to chime in? You two in the audience, please. I would love to hear your thoughts and comments on this.
To my own point of view, being a mother is the greatest thing. And our mothers, they deserve the support that every child needs to give their mothers. Because when you support a mother, the love that was there at the beginning will keep on increasing. And it is our duty, since we see our mothers as our role models, so whatever aspect or whatever that affects them, try to support your mother. I would actually want to go back to myself or my mother. My mom is one of the strongest women. This is because she's actually my father's first wife, and you know polygamy, how it is in South Sudan. So my mom was the first wife, and then a lot of women were married behind her. So with all the fights, like everybody wants to own the man, she ended up having only 2 children, and that is my eldest brother and me. Since that time, she decided to cut herself, thinking that she is the grown woman, and then she has given opportunities to the rest of the ladies. So she decided to pull back. Not that she doesn't want to be with her husband, but thinking, or she wants to take the point of view of every society that the first wife should give opportunities to the rest of the women. So I one day sat down, because I grew up where she was not around me. I was taken to school as a little child. I was taken away from her, I think like around the age of 4 years. So the rest of my education was far away. So I spoke to her. I asked her, why did you decide to give away your position as the first lady? Because you found the man, he was yours. What she told me was that, well, you know, our society says that the first wife should give opportunity to the rest of the ladies. I told her the man was yours in the beginning. So yes, they were married. You should give them the opportunities. But then think of yourself. He is your man. So if you have something that you want to say, call him, because he married you at first when you were a young lady. So she decided to experience all that I've been telling her. Right now, whenever she has a problem, she'll call her husband and they sit down and talk of everything. So this is what I'm trying to say, that whatever challenges that your mothers go through, support them, call them, sit with them, tell them whatever that they need to know as a child, or as somebody who has gone to school. Most of the parents have not gone to school, so it is our duty as educated children to support them and then show them how the world is going.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, Diana.
Yeah, thank you so much for talking about mother as a widow. When you come to the aspect of women with disability, most of us are more or less like widows, but we are not widowers. Why? Because men intends to make us pregnant and they drop us at the end. So here there is no differences between a single parent and a widower. Like me, I am a single parent. I'm raising one of the handsome men to be in South Sudan, and I am so privileged, in fact, to have him. He's my joy. He's the reason why I wake up every morning to go and look for work. So it is really difficult. Let me talk in the aspect of widowers. They suffer through this. They face this gender-based violence on daily basis. Because family has that, like the moment your man is dead, you're supposed to be married to the brother. Whereby here, ya Jama, this man, I don't love him. Eh? There are other things that my husband were doing to me. So why can't you give me the opportunity to go and look for my own man? Where most of South Sudanese women ended up with the 2 children, others with 1, just because they don't have that courage to go and fight for that. But today we are here as young men and women to support our mothers. If you feel your mother is still too young to have kids, please support her. You leave these things of culture behind. Yes, because even sometimes we as children, we are main cause to that. I remember my elder sister, when my mom gave birth to our last born, when my mom was pregnant, my sister cried almost 1 week. So she was asked, like, why are you crying? I just remember that happened. One day I asked her, when I'm now big, I'm like, why did you cry those days when mom was pregnant? She's like, I cried because I am now big enough and I'm worthy to have a child, so mom is not supposed to have a child. I'm like, but mom is still seeing her menstruation and her husband is still alive. Why would you deny her from that? There are some other facts that women are denied from. My hormones are still serious, they're still active, and you're trying to silence them. Why? These are things that we face. Like, for us to overcome this, like, widowers need to be empowered economically. Yeah, Jama, the moment you have money, you can silence every mouth. Even the relative to your husband, they will respect you. They will ask, like, would you mind to have any of your late husband's brothers, or you want to continue your life on your own? Why would they ask that? 1, because they know that you have money. Without them, you can still survive. 2, they know that you can support their brother's kids, even if they are not there. So when we come to the sense of empowering widowers and single parents, they can live that happy life, and they can flee from this GBV. Yeah, this is just what.
Thank you so much, Diana. Ajak, you'd like to share? Yes, please.
I commend you, and you wrote it with Aluel, right?
Yes, I co-wrote it. I co-wrote the piece of See Our Mothers with Aluel, Naomi Aluel.
Yes, because I know you guys have both been going through the same. The demographic of widows, I think it's an overlooked area, especially within our feminism. It calls for material and theoretical analysis of the conditions that widows face within our country. It calls for us seeing what is life beyond being a mother. I think there is a guilt that encompasses everyone. Like, you felt some guilt for not looking at your mother beyond being a mother. I'm sure maybe your mom may have felt a certain guilt for not being something beyond a mother, or what society looks at for being a mother, just somebody who is nothing, just provides for other people. So it is a traumatic thing for everyone. It's not just one person that is affected by it. And I think it's important. It shows us how different things affect different people, not just one person, where we may see that only one person is affected. No, other people are also affected as well.
So I commend you and Anuel for.
Thank you so much. Actually, just in thinking about it, there's so many people here within so many spaces that are outspoken and speak on different issues that women go through, and we rarely have intergenerational conversations, right? And that's where we actually get to know our mothers, know who they are, what they want to do. So as a part of See Our Mothers, Ajak is a part of the Gender Talk 211 team. I think we can have more conversations on how we can start having intergenerational conversations where we can bring our mothers and get to know them a little better and find out how we can help at a mass, right? And by our mothers, I mean the widows. Even if your mother is married, if she's single, I mean all mothers really need, especially of the vintage, especially of the vintage generation, we need to speak more to them. So I think let's have more conversations on how we can make that happen. Yes, Tata, would you like to share on See Our Mothers? Go ahead.
At the moment you mentioned widows, it took me back to a friend back in school. She was from a very wealthy family, and there's this perception of, since she's wealthy, everyone wanted to know who the dad was, because in that school most of the children were big people's children, either the governor's children, the dad is the governor, or the minister, so forth, so forth. So one time she said, my dad is not alive, but my mom is a rich woman. So she was asked, how did she become rich? So she said, when my dad died, my mom did not cry. She did not cry. She ran to the bank to make sure that our relatives will not take a dime from the house. And when we take it literally to what happens when the man dies, the woman, you will be crying, mourning, and grieving, and doing all these things. The last thing in your mind is, am I securing the wealth of the family to benefit my children? So her mom was very strategic. She chose to fight for the wealth of the family and grieve later. And that's how she came from a rich family. So yeah, there are always two sides of how things can turn out. And as women, at times, we should be very strategic in everything that we do. As much as you're married in a family, you're to be aware that you're married in a family. Unfortunately, with hyenas, we're waiting to pray on what you've worked hard with your husband with. If it's that the situation, you should mourn strategically as well, unfortunately.
I think that brings on another topic. At our core of our feminist values is the idea of choice, where women or minorities are presented with choices that they could freely choose from. And widows are not accorded that choice, where it's either you're damned if you do or damned if you don't. Like if they stay and choose to be vulnerable and stay in their vulnerability and mourn, they're seen as weak. They're seen as people who are not putting it together for the whole family, as selfish, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, there's that aspect where people are now able to come in and try to take their family's wealth. The patriarchal grip is so strong like that they can't have any free choice, where they're like, no, I don't want to focus on family stuff right now. I want to be vulnerable in my feelings and mourn my husband, but they're not able to. So there's this illusion of choice for them, and I don't think it's right, and it's very heartbreaking to imagine, because when you're put in such a position, the last thing you would ever think about is money and going to the bank. That's the last place I would ever think about going to. But because women know that there's a lot at stake for them, that the patriarchal side of it is going to come after them now, they can't now have that choice for them to do what they want to do. They're forced into a corner to do things for their own survival and their own children's survival. So this calls for maybe even legislators to look at drafting bills for people who are in such a position. Why is it that people are not able to take money that is allocated to them and their family and not claim it as their own? What can we do as a society to ensure that widows and families that are grieving are able to grieve without worrying about money and their land or wealth being taken away from them?
Thank you for that. And people in the back, I don't want to mention any names, but Adeng, those who are involved with the permanent constitution making process draft, Ajak has just raised a very important point, and that is remember widows, and especially when it comes to inheritance and how they're able now to move forward. So please include them, right, in your thoughts, in your drafts when you're putting it through, right? Moving on from seeing our mothers, another form of gender-based violence, digital gender-based violence that is on the rise these days is revenge porn, right? And before we selected the themes of our articles, we asked a few people of the forms of the different forms of gender-based violence, the most common to them. And I think revenge porn came up every single time, right? And we see all over social media nowadays, someone's vulnerable moment is put for the world to see because of whatsoever reason. And regardless of what that reason is, it's not right. That's not an excuse, right? And it's a form of gender-based violence. What are your thoughts on revenge porn? Go ahead, Ajak.
Well, of course it's wrong. I think it's just the most heartbreaking part about it, it's because it's so intimate. It's from somebody you had cherished and you had trusted before, and they broke that trust. So I remember a few weeks ago, a month ago, I was having a conversation like this with friends where this Nigerian singer, Tiwa Savage, she had done an interview. She was an American. She had warned the public that, by the way, there is somebody who's blackmailing me with revenge porn, and if this comes out, just know that it's something I have warned you guys about. And you can see she was about to break down, you know. And still, when it did happen a few weeks later, people were still blaming her. So it is always that thing where women are the ones who are to blame. They don't look at material analysis of why women are put in such places of violence. It's always women, and it is an indication of the level of patriarchy within our societies, you know. What we can do, I don't think South Sudan even focuses on such legislation and bills to draft that you should not do this. It's usually that women are shamed. In Tongwanjang, they say, like, this girl is spoiled now, you know, like she's seen as tarnished goods or whatever, instead of she's a victim of violence. And it's so wild to even think about. So I don't know. It's just really. I don't even know what people, victims go through in such a place to be violated, and in such a big way where everybody now is seeing you in such light and accusing you and calling you names.
But that's another area that the law probably needs to focus on as well within cyber laws.
Yeah.
I know that something is being drafted, right, within cyber laws, and they need to look into such things.
And it just shows you how much law goes hand in hand with gender-based violence.
Absolutely.
And how much the silence of our government and our legislators they do have a hand in such things, because inaction is also action in itself.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And also, if we don't have laws, if something like this happens,
how do you report it? And then what happens if you even report it? They can't prosecute someone for something that a law doesn't exist for, right? Okay, he posted a video of you, then what? So we do need laws to protect people.
I know in like Boortown and the policemen go out on the streets and beat women for wearing short skirts. So imagine going to a place where you assume you're supposed to be protected and shielded. They can even be the ones to beat you and kill you for doing such things, you know. We know that when such things happens, there's that honor killings that happen as well. That form of violence even snowballs into another form of violence where brothers and fathers can now kill this girl for embarrassing the family and ruining the family's name. So there's no protection at all for women within this country and within our societies. And the law has a lot to do with this.
Thank you so much. Before I ask you to do to give me your last words and close this conversation, anyone in the audience that would like to comment on any of the images and different forms of gender-based violence that you have seen or you have heard spoken on, you're most welcome now. Or if you have any questions, then you're most welcome now. Yes, my dear. Would you like to come up? Please come up on stage and share.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm called Jackie. I'm a student from Catholic University of South Sudan. I'm going back to see your mothers. This has reminded me of my personal experiences, and I go back to the point of inheritance. I know we have fathers and sons here. In this regard, I mean those who got married and maybe their wife. Okay, you know, there's that instinct in the human person. Like for myself, my dad was one of a wealthy person, I can say. We are 10 in a family, but only 2 boys and 8 girls. So from the stories that my mom shared with me some 5 years ago, that she got married at a very early age when she got pregnant with our firstborn, and my dad was still a student. So she was chased away from her parents' place to go and stay in her husband's house. So she was a strong woman because she told me she was doing some kind of, businesses to support my dad because my dad was an orphan by then. So that's how my dad became one of the greatest person. So there was a time in 2009 when he was already very sick. He was taken to Khartoum and he was feeling that he's really going to die. So he told the brothers, because when he was suffering in the hospital, the brothers were not there, but my mom was there. So at the point he was feeling like he's almost dying, so he called the brothers and says he wants his wife near him. And then the other elder brothers of his was like, what is it? We are here, tell us. They know there is something to be told. So my dad says, no, if you don't want to call my wife, I will die without saying anything. So my mom said she was called near. There were only 2 in a room, and my dad handed over everything, including the land. So like 2 days after that, my late dad passed on. So the funeral was done, everything was done. Now my mother also became a target. And in that regard, our elder brother, our firstborn, was told by my dad that each time he wants to do something, should consult the mother. Why am I bringing this? I know in a time, it will be your responsibilities to hand over what is necessary either to your parents or a wife, because I know we have sons and husbands here. So my brother could not take that. Each time my uncles demand for something or a land or something like that, any resource in the house, my brother could say, no, go to my mother. They could challenge him and talk bad things about him, that you're a man, you're already in your 40s, what is it? What is it about your mother? My brother could say, no, Dad told me everything I want to do should consult my mother. So it's a collective responsibility that our social construction of the knowledge about women is taught by men. Who are men to define me as a woman? I experience it every day. I know how to live my life as a woman. A man cannot bring a knowledge of being a woman. You are not a woman. So in that regard, when you really know your daily experiences on daily life basis, stand out for it. And there's another thing also, the general stigmatization, because they say women are not competent, you're not strong, you're weak. It's because knowledge of men is based on masculinity. What is it? It's all about muscles. But when it comes to mind, when it comes to reasoning, there's no sake in reasoning. Okay? There's no sake in reasoning. When you reason, it's not emotion, it's rationality as a human person. So, we are not supposed to be moved by the knowledge of men about me being a woman. I can reason. It's just because God created me beautifully, I'm soft, I'm peaceful. It doesn't mean I'm weak, I'm strong. Yeah, so I'm not trying to disregard my father's brothers, and it's something that we also experience, like in classrooms, in our daily places of life. You will find that men base their knowledge on muscles, which is not rationality.
Wow. Thank you so much. Jackie, you know one thing? I feel better being in South Sudan knowing that you're here. Exactly. I definitely feel better. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else that would like to comment on any of the images that you're seeing or any of the conversations that you've heard spoken on? Yes. Introduce yourself and then share your piece.
My name is Aluel Manyang. I cannot really assume the title of calling myself a feminist, but I've so many times found myself fighting, for us women and myself as well. So I don't know, maybe I fall under that, but I don't assume it. So I just also like to add on to what Jackie just said. And the aspect I want to talk about is educating the women, because you do realize that when a husband dies and the woman is left vulnerable, the family will come in and take everything. But if you have a daughter or if you have a sister who is educated, she's empowered, she will be able to pick up from where the husband left, even if everything has been taken by the relatives of the husband, which is something that is very common in our communities. Because there are some people who will say that I don't want to go through all the battle, the argument. I don't have the energy for that. But if they have the education, if they are empowered, they should be able to pick up from where the husband left and carry on with the family. That's just the one piece that I like to add. Make sure your sisters, your daughters are educated and empowered so that they are able to take care of themselves and not depend on men for provision of resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aluel, for sharing. Anyone else that would like?
I want to appeal to the women in this gathering. We're complaining about masculinities and we're complaining about what's going wrong because men are not doing it. And we might lose hope because of the generation of men we have now. But there is hope for the future. If you are a mother or you are aspiring to be a mother and you have a son, I'm speaking this because I have a 3-year-old boy and I am going to raise him as a feminist. Because I know that these discussions that we're having, we still need men. We still need men. to come and join these discussions, because if they are the problem, they need to tell us why they are the problem. And we can solve this by making sure that the next generation of children, of men, are men who know the value of women and fight for it. So that's one. The second thing I want to say is that your story really resonates with me. I just lost my father recently. I'm still in mourning, that's why I'm in black. And my mother told me something a long time ago when I was going to the university. She was so grateful, and she said, when you finish university, that will be the time I go back to school. And when Eva was talking, I remembered that, and I was like, oh my God, I should be ashamed of myself because I never picked that up. So maybe I should go and find out from Mom when she wants to start to go back to school and see how where that would take us. And so really, when our fathers die, our mothers they look up to us, and we need to protect them. And I'm saying this because I feel really privileged, because I feel like I'm one of those South Sudanese women who was raised by a father who valued women. And I'm saying this because when I became mature, I was one of those women who was always sick, because my menstruation would come, it would last for months. I used to be taken to hospital, I get blood transfusion, because it was just so bad. My father kept my calendar. He told me, if your menstruation comes, tell me. And I would tell him. And as soon as it gets to 1 week, 2 weeks, he said, we're going to the hospital. I don't know how many African men would do that. My father did it. And he's one of those who knew the importance. There was no shame. African men have shame when you talk about menstruation, when you talk about maturing. They don't sit their daughters down. And some of our mothers also the same thing. Maybe a point to Ajak for your research is to look into why our mothers don't sit us down and talk to us about that time when you become a woman and menstruation is going to come, and this is how you take care of yourself. And I would really like you to do research on why are condoms distributed free when sanitary pads are so expensive in the market. That's not right. That is not right.
Thanks. Some of you know me. I work for ICAT Special Employee Office as a senior gender advisor. Congratulations, Eva and Anna Mama Resai, team, my Gender Talk 211, and for all the people that they have contributed to the discussion today. It's very informative. I think also we should challenge ourselves as women. And I'm glad that my sister here is a very important point, the upbringing aspect. Because, we as women, due to our culture, we want to see our men, our sons, our brothers are very strong. And we start to build that in them when we are bringing them. And we help them, even if he beat his colleague in the school, we clap for them. Then really explaining to them that is wrong. When we see him playing outside on the street and taking or grabbing the ball from a neighbor girl, we also feel, oh, you are a man. Inta ragil tamam. So inta ragil gawi, bravo. You didn't disgrace your mom, you didn't disgrace your family. So we have that attitude. And I think the upbringing, we should also be helped in really increasing that. It's not only the men, but also we are part of that. The second type of violence that it should be also bring into the discussion is the women and the in-laws and the sister-in-laws. And believe me, I know many of African sisters and South Sudanese and even in Sudan, the sisters-in-laws, the violence that they experience, not only in the case of disabled, but even if you delay to deliver a baby, you are in trouble. They encourage even another wife, they promote. The other thing on the inheritance aspect, most of the cases, especially as my younger daughter here has mentioned, the first wife, you contribute to the well-being of the family. You buy the house together, you have a joint bank account and all this. And the sister-in-law, they want to throw you out to benefit. And I have seen a South Sudanese lady, very strong, a lawyer. She has been thrown out from her house. Her husband is not, he is alive, I mean. By the sister-in-laws, to get benefit of the house and office. As other area on seeing our widows, and I really congratulate you for this topic. I remember very well a story of a friend who she was a victim of rape by HIV AIDS positive person. She picked the disease, unfortunately. Her daughter is a medical doctor. She disgraced her. She went even to the court and to say that she's not my mother any longer. So you can imagine this friend of mine, she passed away just 2 years back. You can imagine the trauma that she has gone through, the suffering that she has faced, and she's supposed to be supported by her own daughter, by her own family, and you are surrounded out. So I'm also glad to bring, I'm glad you brought that element, because sometimes some of us, we are not faithful to our people. Thanks a lot, and let's continue the discussion.
Thank you so much.
There's a reason why condoms are distributed more freely as compared to sanitary pads. And it comes to show how our feminism needs to be inclusive of LGBTQIA members, which is something I champion for as well. So it basically started in the West, where LGBTQ members gathered around and legislated for the government to now put a cap and make condoms free. And they did that education throughout the country. And that's how it came to that point. It is not something that just came from nowhere, and it's not something that came to privilege men. It came from a marginalized group, the LGBTQ members, as an effect of the HIV pandemic and AIDS pandemic. So they said, hey, let us now do this for our community and for other people to stop our people from dying and others from dying. So when we look at such things, we need to question how they came about. So condoms being free from the West and now coming all over. I know in my school in Kenya, it was free as well. It came from something. It came from a marginalized community that wanted to do something for themselves and the greater community. So it is something that we need to see as that as well, which I do understand why we also need to champion for the zero taxing of pads and tampons, as well as them being free in schools and public places as well.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions or comments? Yes.
Why are the men so silent?
I know.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to know from the men, what is your understanding of feminism? How do you perceive? What is your conceptualization of a word feminism? What is it to you?
She asked you a question, men in the house.
How do you perceive feminism? Is the question not clear? Wow.
Please come up and share.
Look like there is a popular demand to get me here. My brothers, if I get these wrongs, don't crucify me. I know we look at all this differently. So when I came here, I came here to listen. First of all, my name is Kwaj Pej. When I came here to listen to all these great stories. You know, there is an African proverb that says, until the history of the hunting is told in the version of the man, it will always glorify the man until we hear the lion's version. So our history has always been told through a man's version, but we have not heard the woman's version. So I came here to hear the woman's version of that, because we have been getting it wrong all the time. So in me, to respond to your question, let me get back to when I was a young boy. First of all, I have this feeling like my dad is totally kind of distance from me is that kind of person that you can't easily reach. If you're hungry and you need a sandwich or you need something, the easiest person to reach is your mom. So to me, a woman is that person who is always ready to help, who is always available all the time. You don't need to book an appointment, who is actually you can come to with all your complaints. So as a boy who had a very strong relationship with my mom, I see feminism as not only a women's fight, but it is our collective fight. And this is why I want us to look at it as a collaboration between the collaboration of the like-minded to change the narrative. So that's how I look at feminism. So in that sense, you can call me a feminist.
Woo. Thank you. The purpose why I asked this question, because yesterday we were for a family gathering in the house, and I'm living with my cousin brother.
Jackie, do you want to host the show? Please have a seat.
No, it's okay.
Please have a seat. I'll just stand down here. Don't worry about it.
You can join us. Thank you.
Please, go ahead.
So I live with my cousin brothers in the house. So one of them is a graduate. Yesterday I shared with them. I said tomorrow at 2, because sometimes when we chat, they ask what's your arrangement for tomorrow. So I said, okay, I will be in the house like for 4-5 hours, but at 2 I'm going out. That what's it all about? The moment I mentioned feminism in my explanation, that the hajata kumbita vanade, albiji buras goire. You see, so the cultural perspective of being a woman, like if there is any knowledge of a woman, it is disregarded. Like it's in discipline cases. You know that they will affirm you with a lot of information to be indisciplined or what have you. Because the uncle that I live with here does not promote that anyway. So when I'm in the kitchen, my cousin brother should be sweeping the compound or something like that. After all of us are busy in the house. So each time my uncle tell them to do that, they are like, so my dad is misleading me. So how am I being misled in a sense where I am to be supported? So the understanding of a woman or a girl or a feminine in our cultural perspective is totally a different thing. When people talk about, educating a girl or how to be a woman or a girl, so in most cases, in our cultural perspective, it is being regarded like it's a kind of misleading, seeking in disciplines and all this. Why? Because the social construction has taught people that we are subordinate. Are you subordinate? No. Being a subordinate, as many put it, like a woman is being subordinate. I remember some 2 weeks ago, I was in a class, one of my colleagues, Rose, came up with the point that, women are subordinate in the sense that even in the Bible creation story, a woman is a part of a rib. So being a part of a rib, hence a subordinate. I say no. Because there is something important that even God, because I first asked him, were you there when the Bible was written? Who witnessed the Bible? These authors, the majority of them are men. So what do you think a man can write good about a woman in a sense of seeking superiority? Men feel they are supreme. Okay, now when I love it when it is practical, because many of our understanding is theoretical. We read articles, we go to Google this stuff and all this. But when it comes to real life experiences, even there are men who can be last in class. There are others who can tend to cheat for exams, something like that. That is when you want to test competence. So when it is in real life experiences, like the way we can talk about it, how I wish there were more men here, so that we can check ourselves in real daily life experiences, leave alone the theories, leave alone the stories being told and all this, you will really get to know that a woman is one of the most beautiful things. So I'm not trying to disregard the men in the whole, but otherwise, if you're married, try to teach your kids, especially the male kids, to look at their sisters in the same way, not to disregard their sisters, because nurture is what is killing us. Even our parents nurture us the same way. Okay, so another second brief story is about, there was a friend to my sister. So they came from the university and somebody wanted to marry her. So the wedding and everything happened. So a reception welcoming was given, and this lady, she's a graduate. Okay, she was in the Tanzania, one of the university in Tanzania. So this lady was like, yeah, thank you so much, my in-laws and friends around. I am very happy that I'm finally married to your son, but I want to make something very clear. I think she's a feminist. So that lady says, my coming or getting married to your brother doesn't mean I'm coming to change your daily routine of the activities, domestic work. So everybody like, what? These are the things. Who told you even to begin, falling in love with graduates? These are ladies who are spoiled. These ladies will not take care of the home. Just because this lady wants to make it clear that her getting married to that boy doesn't mean she will be the topic of the day in any domestic activity in the in the house. So when she mentioned that, only few individuals, including her, her husband, understood it. But many of the people were like, oh, so this is also another challenge in our educational perspective, like informed consent. Our men or boys prefer, these other girls in the village because of their cultural construction, because the one in the village is not open-minded. Of course, they are guided by the norms that, a lady is supposed to do everything, but the one who had gone to school as informed consent has the knowledge of good and bad, how to be a human person to your husband, to your in-laws, to friends. But now when it comes to the issue of daily activities, many of our Sudanese men, I'm sorry to mention this, they term like graduates or informed students, girls, ladies, that they're spoiled. Why? It's because they're so much attached to the cultural construction that a woman is a subject. So for instance, when you marry somebody who is like, educated or something, so they have other activities, constructive activities to do, which is of their career or whatever they have studied. So that's why when you will find those who are educated, they don't prefer, somebody like Jack is spoiled, because they go. And also they are not comfortable. In some sense, they are not comfortable because like somebody who is educated, a woman who is educated, when you treat her with love and respect, she almost helps you even more than anyone. But because now the knowledge they inflict on us bring us to that. So it's stand out there, support yourself and do the right thing, such that we are not disregarded, that our studies or our knowledge of seeking equality between us and our men, us and our brothers, is not really a sense of, trying to be dominating the family and what have you. Otherwise, thank you so much. I've stopped here.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much for being here and sharing.
Because I know there's so much that needs to be said, and I definitely cannot miss Jackie. Thank you so much. You give me so much hope for young people. I'm not old, okay? Not old. I might be short, I'm not old. So before we close, I'd like to invite Ambassador Julius from the Embassy of Canada. He's a representative from the Embassy of Canada. He'll be giving our closing remarks, and then after that, we'll share the last bit of our program, and then we will say goodbye for today.
Introduced as the ambassador of the Embassy of Canada. While I'm the acting ambassador, waiting for our long-term charge to arrive after the departure of our ambassador, Jenny Hill, last week. I am temporarily holding the fort. It is such a great honor to be here today and to listen to the conversation. I have been enriched as a man from listening to the panel and the young people that have spoken. To my co-men, I want to say that that is not an indictment on your manhood. it is not. It is a conversation that I think is right, that I think is frank, and I think is much needed. Change starts with me and with you as a man. I was born and raised in Nigeria, a very patriarchal society, just as South Sudan. So I think one step at a time, one conversation at a time, we can begin to embark on change. We can begin to make an impact by making this kind of conversation positive change in society, and that starts with me. I have a written remark in my pocket, but after sitting there and listening to the conversation, I don't think that written remark is what I need to deliver to close this amazing event tonight. While this event is supported by Canada's Fund for Local Initiative, and that is why I'm here, speaking on behalf of Canada, I think this has been one of the most productive events I've attended, having been in South Sudan for the past 6 months. And I want to thank Eva and the team and the panel for the conversation. The only credit I can take for being here is I was part of the panel that selected the proposal for this Gender Talk 211. That is the only credit I can take for this. But seeing how this is being implemented gives me so much joy and courage that good things are going to happen in South Sudan. As you probably have known, Canada's Prime Minister declares himself as a feminist. And Canada has what we call the Feminist International Assistance Policy that guides all of our international assistance work. That is the basis by which our programming, all of our programming, is supported. Canada is very present in health, in education, in governance, in food security, in South Sudan. But all those programming are women and girls focused. And that is a deliberate policy decision by the government of Canada. And the main reason, the rationale behind that, is to begin to break down that power structure. Women and girls are important. They are part and parcel of society, and they should be treated as such. So I am proud to be representing Canada and to be championing that women and girls in everywhere, particularly in South Sudan. And thank you for this amazing opportunity to be here and to be a part of this program. It really has enriched me, and I think that change starts with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. My apologies for that confusion at the beginning, but really do appreciate the embassy and the people it's happening. So, as I said earlier, we are closing our program right about now, unfortunately. But I would like to let you all know that the Gender Talk website is now live. So you can go to www.gendertalk211.org. Once again, that's www.gendertalk211.org. You can see all the articles that were discussed here today, all the points that were said here today, and then also you can learn more about Orange South Sudan. So before I let you go, just know we have some gifts here for you. So before you leave, please consult our table in the corner. We also have some refreshments on the side. Please don't rush before you serve yourself a nice little snack. And once again, keep the conversation going, keep talking. Take some time now to mingle, get to know each other, what you do, you know, what are some of your views, your thoughts. You never know what impact you can have on someone else right here, right now. So once again, thank you so much to Eva, the team, and everybody involved. Thank you all for coming and sharing the day with us. And as we continue 16 days of activism and more beyond it, may we continue the conversation as well. My name is Nyadakram, and I'm so glad to have been here with you today. Have a nice rest of the weekend.
Thank you.